Notre Dame and Ohio State have 3 losses between them by a combined 7 points. 2 of the nation's best clash at the Battlefront Fiesta Bowl. Coverage begins New Year's Day at 1 Eastern on ESPN and on ESPN Radio.
The topics are hot. The discussion is heated. The First Take Podcast starts now.
Here's what's coming up on the First Take Podcast. Are the Patriots now in the AFC driver's seat? And should we lock in the Panthers for Super Bowl 50? Plus, will the Giants win tonight and stay in the NFC East title chase? That and so much more coming up on the pod. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you starting your week with us here on First Take. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam, all in the house. Good day. Good morning, guys.
What's going on? How y'all doing?
I'm good.
How y'all doing? What's going on, Skip?
You know what? I feel like LeSean McCoy. Can I just say I ain't got nothing to say?
Oh, you do.
Can I just leave right now?
No, you do.
Can I just leave? I don't have to talk to the media today, do I?
Not today.
Oh,
Never that. Okay. I mean, listen. I will shut up. I want you to have the floor, please.
You just said it, so I got it.
You got it.
Okay, I got
it. How you doing? How was your week?
I'm fantastic.
It's so good to see you.
You know what, Molly? I don't care how your weekend was.
Oh, really?
And I definitely don't care how your weekend was.
You ain't got to have an attitude.
Really?
It's unnecessary.
I think you got the attitude. I don't got the attitude.
You know I think we're starting the show by saying goodbye. Let's get into it. So much to get into.
Did you just say goodbye to the Cowboys?
Who do you
Is that what
think?
you're saying?
Who do you think?
Oh, Giants fan. Oh, wait, are we turning on the lights for the Giants now?
We're going to get right to you.
Oh, okay.
First and foremost by beating Dallas 28-7 at Lambeau. Skip. What happened?
Please, educate us.
Give me a little time.
Take your time. We'll sit back.
It's all yours. Take all time, please.
Several things happened to me yesterday. The first thing that happened was that the Bears' Robbie Gould missed a late field goal that allowed the Redskins to survive at Chicago. That was blow number 1 on what turned out to be a very dark day for me and my Dallas Cowboys. Then the second thing that happened was the referees completely missed an obvious pick play at Philadelphia that allowed the Eagles to escape on a 3rd and 3 and kick a field goal that allowed them to survive against the Buffalo Bills. Blow number 2 to my Dallas Cowboys. Then the third thing, and the worst thing that happened to my Dallas Cowboys, was that Dez Bryant, my man Dez Bryant, dropped the game at Green Bay. You know what? Instead of throwing up the X by the end of that game, I felt like just throwing up. That's what I felt like. No throwing up the X anymore, Dez. Just throwing up, as in hurl. As in, what are you doing, Dez? You didn't show up for the biggest game of the year in Green Bay. Last year, obviously, in the playoff game, Dez Bryant got robbed. Then he turned around and robbed me and Cowboy Nation of at least having a chance to win a game in which the defense played well enough and hung in long enough to actually win. Can I start with right away, 3rd and goal from the 3-yard line?
Yeah.
Matt Castle's not very good, but he threw a football that was placed only where Dez Bryant could catch it. It was a really tough catch. It was one that not many receivers can make. I give you that the ball was a little damp, and I give you that Dez Bryant is not 100% on that foot of his. But I have often called Dez Bryant the best receiver in pro football, and Jerry Jones gave him his money and paid him like he's the best receiver in pro football. And in my book, my history covering this game for a long, long time is when a receiver of that caliber gets 2 hands on the football, you had better catch it, especially if you are the playmaker and the tone setter for what's left of my Dallas Cowboys. You had an early chance to knock Green Bay back on its heels, if not on its tail, by making it 7-0 Dallas after a big long run by Darren McFadden. And you could have made Aaron Rodgers and company start to wonder again, start to sweat and say, wait a second, is it happening again? Are we going to lose our 3rd straight game at home? But instead, ricochet off Dez's hands into an interception and 0 points. Dez Bryant then proceeded to drop 2 other passes that were just cold, flat out, what are you doing, Dez drops. Your head's not in this game. But let me go to the other key play of this football game, and what was probably the final nail in Dallas's coffin. It is 3rd and 5 from Dallas's 28. It's only 7-0 at this point, and Matt Castle again threw the ball up high, but to where only Dez Bryant could catch it in double coverage. And he gets both hands on the football, and he cannot control it to the ground. I didn't need the referees to tell me at that point that was not a catch, because it clearly was not a catch. It would have been 1st and 10 Dallas after 28 yards at the Green Bay 34-yard line. You can't tell me they wouldn't have at least scored 3 points and started to make the game a little more interesting. But the entire team looked at its one big playmaker and said, I guess Dez isn't into it today, so we got no shot. And again, the defense hung in for as long as it could. I remind you, Green Bay wound up running 81 plays to Dallas's 51 plays. So that's a long time for that defense to hang in. And finally, the dam burst and broke. And you know what the rest of it was. It was a much closer game than 28-7. But in the end, if Dez Bryant's going to catch one measly swing pass, really at the line of scrimmage that he ran with for 9 yards, if that's all you got for the whole day, my Cowboys are going to lose. And they did. The floor is now yours.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got more to say, but I'm going to take a breath.
There's no problem.
Yeah.
There's no problem, because the floor is yours. I mean, this is your day. This is your day. You can have as much time as you want to talk Skip Bayless. You know, all of those things obviously are accurate, because usually, you're on point with the facts. You're never wrong about the facts, or really wrong about the facts. It's just that you leave a lot of stuff out. Like, for example, you negated to mention 124 yards rushing that Eddie Lacy had, and how the Green Bay Packers were able to run the ball effectively, particularly in the second half. It took a while, but they did. Right. Well, I do recall predicting that the game would be tight until late in the second half, when Green Bay will ultimately pull away, because Dallas would do something to get in their own way, because that's just who they are. And that's exactly what happened. They were able to run the ball effectively with Starks, with Eddie Lacy. I mean, combined, they rushed for about 195 yards. So let's make sure we put that out there. Let's also not negate to remember the fact that Darren McFadden, even though he had a 50-yard run, still rushed for 111 yards on 9 carries. That means the other
2 big runs.
Listen, that means the other 8 carries, he essentially basically had about 8 carries for about 50 and change, or 60 yards. You could have given him the ball a little bit more, but because they don't really have a coach, okay, that's not something that the Dallas Cowboys ended up doing. No doubt about it. Bad game for Dez Bryant. Can't defend it. Indefensible. Matt Castle actually was victimized to some degree, because 13 for 29 for 114 yards is a grave misnomer. There were at least 4 to 5 drops that took place on his watch yesterday. Matt Castle doesn't deserve to be excoriated, at least as much as we're accustomed to really vilifying him. In the end, what it comes down to is this, Skip Bayless. Despite injuries to Orlando Scandrick, the delay to Rolando McClain coming back into the mix, obviously Greg Hardy being suspended, whatever, the defense has shown it has tremendous promise. It can go up against anybody, put forth a good fight. But offensively, not having Tony Romo crippled this team, and obviously not having DeMarco Murray crippled this team, because Jerry Jones openly admitting before the game that he did a poor job of making sure that he had a security blanket in the event that Tony Romo went down. Mainly a backup quarterback that he was talking about, but I submit to you that DeMarco Murray staying there and maintaining the level of continuity that you had helped build over the previous 2 seasons, in particular last year with their 12-4 run. Had you been wise enough to do those things, you would not have found yourself in the situation that you were in yesterday against the Green Bay Packers, with your season on the line, you needing to win, and ultimately being incapable of doing so. Which brings me to you, Skip Bayless, and all of you Cowboy fans out there, okay? I tried to tell y'all, the pathetic fan base that y'all are, with you being the ringleader, what your season was going to be like, what was going to end up happening. I actually did you a favor. I actually thought that the Cowboys would win at least a couple of those 7 games that Tony Romo was out, and they didn't do any of it, okay? So in the end, what we come down to is this. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you what would happen. You wouldn't listen. So as we sit here today, I understand, and I gave you an opportunity to bloviate about all things that were the Dallas Cowboys to lament. But now that you got that out of your system, okay, are you finally willing to concede? Because this is the moment I've been waiting for right here. Are you finally willing to concede that it is over, that the Dallas Cowboys are irrelevant, that they are nothing, their season is gone, and all of you Cowboy fans out there can kiss off, all of you, it's over, it's over. Are you willing to sit there? I'll go to the flower shop and buy you some flowers, Skip. I'll have them play some funeral music. I don't care, whatever you need to adopt the mindset that it is over, your season is done, the Dallas Cowboys are officially irrelevant, and we can move on. Are you willing to concede that that is the moment I've been waiting for?
I have one word in answer to what you just asked me. No! How about a big no? How about if my Dallas Cowboys, stranger things have happened. I don't know what they are, but stranger things. What if they win the last 3 games? What if all these are sorry teams? You're sorry,
So
New York
many
Giants.
what ifs.
How about if those sorry Chip Kelly Eagles finally come back to earth and start losing games, starting with Arizona next week? How about if the Washington Redskins? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How about if the Redskins finally get exposed for what they really are with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and they lucked out and won that game against Jay Cutler yesterday in Chicago? What if they finally get exposed? What if by some miracle, I'll be the first to admit to you, no team I have ever rooted for in my life has caused me more misery than these Dallas Cowboys, because they have now lost 7 close games that they had a chance to win. What if miracles occur? What if they suddenly figure out how to win against the New York Jets on Saturday night at Jerry World? What if after that they go to Buffalo and somehow figure out a way to steal that game and come home and beat the heck out of the Redskins? What if they win 3 in a row and finish in a tie at 7-9 with whatever sorry teams winds up 7-9, and my Dallas Cowboys would then have the best record in the division and the tiebreaker? Do you realize that?
No, I don't actually know.
They remain 3-2 in the division. They have a winning record in the division.
Adios.
What if they win against Washington the last game of the year and they're 4-2 in the division, and somehow everybody comes back to them at 7-9? What if?
Yeah,
I'm just throwing out a what if. See, you want to write them off, and I've scared the hell out of both of you.
No, we're not scared.
Yes, I have.
We're not scared.
Allow me to retort.
Yeah. What if?
All right, or allow me to retort. Normally, that kind of diatribe, that kind of annoying, nonsensical soliloquy would get on my last nerves. But in this particular instance, Molly, I say we should sit back and enjoy ourselves. Skip Bayless is just going to spend another week torturing himself, setting himself up for another miserable Sunday. Another miserable Sunday. Now, I will admit this. I do feel bad for Ernestine, because you are just so. I do feel bad. I know she cares about you. No, she cares about your misery. She knows. She's
an NBA fan. She doesn't like the Cowboys.
But she doesn't like. But she loves you, and the fact that you go through what you go through and what you're going to put her through, my heart goes out to her. However, for you, for the purposes of you, I mean, you go right ahead. I mean, I'm enjoying this. Go ahead and talk to yourself a little bit more. And it's over. They're 4-9. They're 4-9. And by the way, the Jets are still battling for a wild card. You think they're losing to the Cowboys? The Buffalo Bills are on their respirator. They're pretty much done. You think they're going to lose to the Cowboys? I mean, really? Let me tell you something right now. Dallas is losing at least 10 games this year. At least they're losing on one of these next 3. I told you they were going to lose to Green Bay. And I'm telling you they're going to lose at least 1. Oh, really? After you sat up there and hedged your bet 17 different ways. Let me tell you something, Skip. It's over. And I love how you holding on for dear life. So you picked them to lose, but you holding on for dear life, ain't you?
Wait a second. Let me get this straight.
Go ahead.
Two fans of the sorry New York Football Giants are trying to ridicule the Cowboys.
Who are still better than your
team. Really? Who are still better than your team.
You know what? I feel sorry for both of you, because you got a game at Miami tonight you will probably lose.
No, I
don't think so.
And you'll look back and say, wait a second. Aren't you the two who wanted Tom Coughlin fired?
Skip Bayless?
Yeah.
I still do. Yeah. Number 1. But number 2, all of that is irrelevant. Let it go. Yeah. Listen. This is tantamount to years ago. You remember when the great, the legendary John Legend came on this show, and he was talking to you about that?
No, he wasn't talking to me. He was singing to me.
No, I was talking and then singing.
But he sang a whole song.
And then he sang a song to you,
and it was called "Let It Go." It was way before Frozen was ever even
Let It Go.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying,
it was an original
song
about
Frozen. That's fantastic. But the point is this: he said, "Let it go." go, and you wouldn't listen. And listen, you've been trying. We have tried to help you. I have tried to help you for years. You didn't let that go. You won't let this go. It's okay because it's coming. It's official. Everybody knows it's over but you. But you holding on for Cowboy Nation. I'm having a ball laughing at y'all right now because I know there's millions out there that think just like you when it comes to the Cowboys. There's still a chance. Y'all are so pathetic as a fan base. It's ridiculous. Just living in la-la land. No reality. What's a fantasy island? The plane bus, the plane. People don't even remember that show, Fantasy Island. But I'm going to remind them of it.
Really
it was fantastic. It was a great show.
I don't even remember that show.
I love Mr. York. It was a great show. But I am telling you right now, it is over. I just love it. So you go ahead and fight the good fight trying to keep the Cowboys relevant. They are dead. It is over and done. The 2015 season has come to a screeching halt. We all know it. You go ahead and hold on for dear life.
Harder to let
you go ahead.
Hold on.
It's okay.
Des Bryant, you owe me 1 or 2 or 3. How about it?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So you're not throwing up the extra.
Let's move on to some real football team.
Real quick. Let's give Mike McCarthy some props,
talk about the
taking
Eagles.
over the play calling, running the ball more, looked more effective, and obviously taking away
tremendous.
Taking away
the
playing
defense shut him down the whole
from
second
Eddie
half
Lacy. And what did Eddie Lacy say after the game?
They didn't look any different than they looked the previous 6 games. Stop it.
Lacy and Starks were better.
Haterism.
You stop it.
Haterism.
Let's stay in the
It's
NFC
okay.
East to Skip's new team, the Eagles.
It's okay.
They defended their home turf when LeSean McCoy and the Bills came to town. Shady began by his homecoming by hugging his former owner, Jeffrey Lurie, in warm-ups, then kneeling prior to the coin toss to kiss the Eagles logo. However, after the loss, he wasn't so cheery, running off the field without shaking any hands. How did LeSean feel about the day? All right, so that was Shady's response to the reporter, Stephen A. Do you have a problem with how he handled the day?
Well, I don't want to use the word problem. He's free to do what he wants, just like he was free to express his opinion about Chip Kelly, and he had a right to feel the way that he felt. He had a right to walk away. That's what he wants to do. That's fine. But having said all of that, let me say this. He came across as incredibly weak. And I was disappointed to see him do what he did in terms of not talking to the media yesterday, because you were the one that was quick to bring up everything about Chip Kelly. You were the one that wouldn't downplay the story. You elevated it to the level that you elevated it to. You talked about Chip Kelly in a very negative fashion, which I have no problem with. You sat up there, according to reports, and went to Richie Incognito and told him we want to see the Miami Richie Incognito, infamous from the whole bullying scandal in Miami, as opposed to the Richie Incognito that's clearly been the best offensive lineman with Buffalo this year. You brought attention to all of that before the game, talking about how you're not going to shake Chip Kelly's hand. You did all of that stuff. You told the guys, do this. I need you guys this week. I need you guys this week. And in fairness to him, they didn't show up for him as well as they should have. I don't think there's any question about that. But having said all of that, once what happened, and you lost the game, for you to sit up there and to walk away without having anything to say whatsoever, it's just incredibly weak. There's no other way around it. He looks very, very bad. Chip Kelly won the day in every way imaginable as far as I'm concerned, because Chip Kelly sat up there, won the football game. Chip Kelly sat up there, talked to the media before and after the game. Chip Kelly made his position very, very clear. He knocked down what he labeled to be incredibly erroneous reports about his communication or lack thereof with LeSean McCoy, and he basically was in McCoy's face, figuratively speaking, if not literally, by saying, hey, this is what it is. This is what has transpired. And for LeSean McCoy to make such noise about it, but then bow out, it was one of those situations where you found yourself incredibly disappointed, because for the first time, as far as I'm concerned, in his career, folks in Philadelphia and beyond would have a legitimate argument to say, we want to hear nothing about what you have to say from this point forward. When things are going good, just go away. The camera doesn't need to be on you. We don't care to hear what you have to say, because when it really, really counted and you needed to man up after all the talking that you did, you literally walked away and wilted beneath that kind of pressure and that spotlight. And I don't take those words kindly, saying that about LeSean McCoy, because I like him a lot. I don't know him, personally on that kind of intimate level, but we've communicated on several occasions over the years. He was on this show. He's still a friend of the show, always will be. But that was a real weak, unmanly moment on his part. You got to man up when you create that kind of stir about Chip Kelly and the Philadelphia Eagles and everything that happened. You got to man up when the game is played and you've lost. You can't just man up before the game when you think you're going to do something. You got to be there when it doesn't happen. Because if you had won the game and you had rushed for 150 to 200 yards, I have no doubt we would have found you with ease at that moment in time. Well, if that's what you would have done when you won, if you had won, you should have manned up and did so when you lost. Sal Palantonio was at the game. He's been covering the Philadelphia Eagles for many, many years. Was at the Philadelphia Inquirer with me when we were together there in the mid-'90s. We all know what time it is. It's real disappointing to see LeSean McCoy bow out the way that he did. I expected more from him. I expected better from him. And I was real disappointed to see him act the way that he acted.
So you just spoke about LeSean's behavior after the game in the locker room. I'm going to talk about everything he did before then.
Sure.
I'm fond of LeSean. We've had him on, I'm trying to think through the years, even before you were with me on the show. He might have been on 5 different times.
We like him a lot.
I always like him.
We like him
good
a lot.
Heart. I just have a soft spot for him.
Damn good player.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I was extremely disappointed in him all week long and all pregame and all game long. And I'll tell you why. He made the whole week and the whole pregame about him. And I'm going to ask you a question. If you were a Buffalo Bills teammate of LeSean McCoy and you saw him come out in the pregame and go kiss the logo of the Philadelphia Eagles, how would that make you feel? You have a chance to win a game, a tough game against a team that suddenly caught fire at Foxborough. And maybe even squeeze into the backside of the playoffs. And he's kissing the logo. You're a Buffalo Bill now. And the message I would get is his heart's still in Philadelphia. And I wouldn't love that. I'm okay that he went and hugged Jeff Lurie, because not often, but sometimes I see ex-teammates hug before a game. It's just the way it is. They do it in the NBA. You know how it is.
And Jeffrey Lurie's a good man.
And he's a good man, and I get that. But meanwhile, Jeff Lurie, through the week, is using LeSean to reunify his team, because he had T-shirts made and put them in every locker before yesterday's game, black T-shirts in the Eagles locker room that said 53 angry men. Like we pull back together. Heck with DeMarco. It seems like he's sort of out of sight, out of mind, and he also skipped out after the game. But that's fine. It's almost like he's distanced himself from the team, and they're fine with that. Yeah, they pulled together.
He needs to leave Philadelphia.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
And then to me, and I don't know this for a fact, it was just my 2 cents, and obviously I was rooting like crazy for the Bills, but LeSean came out firing, man, and he's just got blood in his eyes, and he had a really good first half. And then it looked to me like he started running out of either physical or mental gas in the second half, because he had 11 yards on 10 carries in the second half. Yep. That's not good enough. It's just not good. The game's on the line. Your team got back in the game thanks to your quarterback in large part. And they needed a little more of you, and maybe you didn't have much to give after a long week that surely took a whole lot out of him physically, psychologically. He's probably just drained in the second half. And then I like this. Game ends, and he just runs off the field without shaking a single hand. And I like what Brandon Graham told our Jarrett Bell, obviously, of USA Today. He said that LeSean's still our guy, but we wish he would have stayed out there at the end. Well, yeah, they do, because it's to your point about manning up. Well, also part of manning up is just walking across the field and shaking the hands of the guys you said you were going to get even with, not for their sake, but for Chip Kelly's sake. Just go shake their hands after the game. That's just the classy move. And he ran straight to the locker room, and there was that footage of him just throwing his helmet against the wall. I get it that he was upset, but it's because he made it all about him instead of his team. His teammates walked across the field and shook hands. Most people most guys shake hands. He didn't even do that. So I'm more upset with that than I am not talking to the media.
Well, to me, it's all-encompassing. You know, when I talk about not talking to the media, I'm talking about it all. I'm talking about walking off, you know, because the media is going to ask you about that.
Yep.
So it's not really about talking I'm not who cares if you don't want to talk to the media about what they want to ask. It's about the obvious stuff that you know to address. And whether they want it, listen, on a positive note, they know to talk to the media when they want to disseminate a message to the masses because they recognize and realize that you use the media to talk to the fans. That's what you're doing.
Exactly.
Well, the same is applicable on the negative. You need to talk to the fans. You know, you go out there. I had no problem with him. I understand how people had a problem with him kissing the eagle symbol. I had no problem with it because that was his way of sitting there and saying, I'm appreciative of the city of Philadelphia, and I never wanted to leave here. That I was forced to leave here.
But if you're his teammate, your new Buffalo teammates,
well, again, because they understand that a lot of times you don't want to leave certain places. It doesn't mean that you're less dedicated to the team that you're at, but it's about locale as well. Like, for example, you might love playing for the Buffalo Bills organization, but might not necessarily like living in Buffalo. Living in Philadelphia might be a bit more exciting for you. Just like if you left Miami and then you end up going to play, you know,
Cleveland.
In Cleveland. You know, well, guess what? You know, it's South Beach. Okay, so somebody might like being there like LeBron, but a lot of other dudes may not.
Right.
So it's not really about the organization. It's about the locale, the friends that you make and whatever. But where it's very indictable as to what he did is that, damn, LeSean, those were your teammates, your brothers in arms, who have love for you. And you know this. And to walk off the field without shaking their hand, that's just low class. And in fairness to LeSean, that's not what we know him to be. He's a straight shooter, but he's always had class. He's a good dude. He's a great player. You know, he's the leading rusher in the league a couple of years ago. This brother can play.
Sure.
Okay? But I thought that was a low moment for him because he came across looking very, very weak. Because we know you would not have done that had you won and played well.
Right.
That's the problem.
If
you would do that anyway, then that's different.
That's the word that came to mind.
You know, if this is Barry Bonds, if this is Eddie Murray, the Hall of Fame baseball player. I mean, guys like that, win, lose, or draw, they were the same. They didn't want to talk to you. Even when it was things to celebrate, they didn't want to talk to you. But when you want to talk when you on high, but you hiding when you on low, that's a problem.
Well, and my final word is, I don't like Chip Kelly. I don't like what he stands for. I'm not a fan.
Right.
It made me sick to watch him win a second straight big game yesterday. But we do have to sit here today on national television and say, congratulations, Chip, you did it.
Not only did he do it, but again, how he conducted himself in the face of that scrutiny. Let's take a moment to give Chip Kelly. You know I ain't prone to give him credit, but let's take a moment to give Chip Kelly credit where credit is due. He came across as incredibly believable yesterday in everything that he said.
You think so?
I thought so.
We'll debate that later.
We're going to get into that later as well.
And unlike LeSean, he didn't duck. He didn't duck.
And Skip, to your point, which I didn't think about also, in terms of he asked his team to galvanize around him. He needed this win, et cetera, and they had his back, and then he didn't really have their back in the end. All right, moving on. I also wanted to mention, too, DeMarco Murray, we were paying attention to his snap count, obviously the conversation on the plane ride home. He just had the ball 8 times for 24 yards. We have a big show for you Tuesday here on First Take. Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are stopping by the desk. We'll ask them about their new comedy, Daddy's Home. You just saw a clip from that. Talk some football as well, so don't miss that tomorrow right here on First Take. Meanwhile, here's what's going on in the AFC. The Bengals taking a huge hit. Andy Dalton broke a bone in his thumb and is likely to miss the rest of the season. The Broncos blew a 12-0 lead, losing to the Raiders in Mile High. And the Pats get Gronk back and get back on track with a 27-6 win over Houston. So now the Pats leapfrog both the Broncos and Bengals in the race for the top seed in the AFC playoffs, sitting alone at 11-2. So, Skip, with Gronk back, are the Pats now in control of the AFC?
I would like to think so, Stephen A., but I am not sure about the Patriots' declining health because it gets worse by the day or night. Last night, they lost LeGarrette Blount to a hip, and every time I hear running back hip, I think of Bo Jackson, and I think, oh, no. I hope it's not an oh, no, but I don't know because they don't tell us. Devin McCourty is he's the guts and brains of the secondary. And he went out with an ankle that was so bad they took him to the x-ray machine. What am I supposed to think? Is he gone for 6 or 7 weeks with a high ankle sprain?
Well, at least it ain't rolls in Seattle. At least
well, okay, all right.
Okay,
he's gone. Yeah, but you know how beat up the Patriots are. Dominic Easley. A lot of people don't know who he is, but he's their best inside rusher, and all of a sudden he had some mysterious thigh injury and had to limp off. I don't know what's going on. Dante Hightower's got a bad knee injury, and he's still out, and he may stay out. And I don't know what Edelman's situation is. Will he come back from that Jones fracture the way Dez did? I have no idea. Will he limp back into the starting lineup? I don't know. And every time Gronk got hit below the waist last night, I closed my eyes because I thought he was going to be gone again. So he's almost like play to play. Are they obviously a whole different football team with Gronkowski as the centrifuge of the offense? Yeah, they are. And yet Tom Brady was Tom Brady last night. And he mixes and matches with LaFell or LaDrop or whatever his name is, and a little Amendola here and there, and they got through because the defense really played hard and well. And the pass rush was fierce last night on poor Brian Hoyer. So I like what they're doing. I just don't know if they're going to be healthy enough. Now, if Brock Osweiler remains the quarterback of the Denver Broncos, I've told you before, I don't fear Denver down the stretch. But I will say this. I don't want to be a hypocrite about Andy Dalton. God bless him. Sorry that he's gone and likely gone for the rest of the year. But we have been so hard on him. How can we say that we're going to write off the Bengals completely with A.J. McCarron? I respect A.J. McCarron.
So do I.
Okay, he might be at least as good as Andy Dalton. Obviously, he doesn't have nearly the experience Andy Dalton does. But I thought A.J. McCarron getting thrown into the fire against a really hot team, I thought that 22 of 32 for 280 and a big ball he threw to A.J. Green for a touchdown, 66 yards. Look, A.J., I used to kid about it on the show, game manager at Alabama. He went 36-4, obviously.
Play.
Yeah, he came on the show one time and took me to task for it. I back off. I respect. And I continue to respect him, even though he's just a fifth-round draft pick, as a pro quarterback, because he can play a little bit. He will not be afraid. He will not lose his poise. He made one stupid throw into the flat that got taken back for 6.
Man, I love the dance afterwards, by the way, the skills. That was a beautiful
Well, he
dance.
deserved it.
That was a
was it
beautiful
William
dance.
Gay? I think it was. Yeah.
It was a beautiful dance.
Okay,
It was hilarious.
but seriously, will they lose that much? Will there be that big a drop-off to A.J. McCarron? I don't think so, because I'm not that big an Andy Dalton fan. Who's to say the team doesn't look around the locker room and say, wait a second, maybe this kid's got a little moxie.
Right.
Maybe he's got a little Alabama, mystique going with him. I don't know. So I'm not going to write off the Bengals in this AFC chase here.
You're talking about the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't write off the Bengals because they're loaded on both sides of the ball, and I love their talent. But again, you've got not just Dalton, but Marvin Lewis, all right, who hasn't won a playoff game in his 12 years as the head coach at Cincinnati. So we can't ignore that. We also have to remember that in the event Andy Dalton comes back, that he's healthy enough to, they're going to reinsert him. I just can't imagine that they're going to tell A.J. McCarron, you're that guy.
No.
With Andy Dalton.
No, definitely
So
not.
Andy Dalton will have something to prove, which brings continuity into question. I told you from his days at Alabama, I was a fan of A.J. McCarron.
You were.
I like him a lot. And
Although anybody who puts on that jersey you love, right?
Well, not anybody.
I don't know.
Not anybody.
I can't remember anybody you didn't like.
I respected Trent Richardson, but I didn't think he deserved to be the 3rd overall pick. I loved Amari Cooper. What's not to love about Amari Cooper? Okay? Don't tell me I like their quarterbacks from years past. I like McCarron, but others, I won't name names. I'll be nice, but I feel that way about them. So when I look at them and I look at A.J. McCarron in the big games he has played in, this is not too big for him. And I'll give him credit for that. But I still believe that it's all about New England because New England finds ways to win games. And you're talking about 3 games to go, and they've got the lead. So for me, I look at it from the perspective, they've got the Jets coming up.
They got Tennessee next.
They got Tennessee and then the Jets.
At Dolphins.
There we go.
Okay.
I expect them to beat Tennessee and the Dolphins. The only wild card potentially is the New York Jets. And it depends on the urgency of the moment. Remember, that was one of the games I predicted New England could lose, along with the one at Denver, which they did lose. So I look at it from the perspective that the Jets could throw a monkey wrench into things. They could knock off New England at East Rutherford, New Jersey from MetLife Stadium. But that's the only loss I see potentially on the docket for the New England Patriots. So from my vantage point, it is what it is. I think that it's the New England's division conference rather to lose. I wasn't sold on Cincinnati because I've never been sold on Cincinnati. Not because of that defense. Adam Jones and those boys, it ain't about y'all. It ain't about Giovanni Bernard. It's damn sure ain't about A.J. Green. It's about Andy Dalton and Marvin Lewis. That, to me, is what I need to see. I'm going to say that New England still will get the #1 overall seed.
Are they a lock to win the AFC to get to the Super Bowl?
I don't think they're a lock because of the Steelers. Let me tell you something right now. Don't get me wrong. They should beat the Steelers because I don't trust the Steelers secondary. But good Lord have mercy. The more I watch Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Marcus Wheaton, Heath Miller connected on all 9 targets.
Yeah.
I mean, what a passing attack. I mean, when I think about the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger doesn't even think about running now. He doesn't have to run.
No.
He can sit there, and then you could use Heath Miller for short yardage situations when they take guys outside, from outside the numbers. And you really can't take them because the only way really to neutralize this Steelers offense is to put pressure on Big Ben where he doesn't have the time to get it to the boys outside the numbers. That's the only way. Outside of that, there's no way to stop this passing attack of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The problem is that damn secondary isn't reliable, even though they did a good job for the second time this season against Cincinnati. All right, so I look at it, I think the Steelers may very well end up as the biggest threat to New England, but they got to get in because Kansas City has come out of nowhere. And what a job Andy Reid has done with this crew.
They got
wide receivers catching touchdown passes now, and they got an easy schedule. The Jets control their own destiny, but they got New England coming up on the 27th. So I just look at it, the Steelers have to get in, but if the Steelers get in, I view them as the biggest threat to the New England Patriots.
Okay, 2 quick questions. Let's just say A.J. McCarron has to finish the year. Does that let Marvin Lewis off your hook?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I hate it. I don't think he deserves it. But at the same time, if you lose your starting quarterback this late in the season, I will say this. Let me modify that position. Depends on who you lose to. Like with A.J. McCarron, with the change that it ultimately forces, I have no problem if you lose to New England. I have no problem if you lose to Pittsburgh. I have no problem if you lose to Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. But you can't lose to Brock Osweiler and the Denver Broncos. You certainly can't lose to Indy or Houston. You lose to one of those, I don't care who the quarterback is. I got a problem with you if you Cincinnati and Marvin Lewis. But if you lose to New England or Pittsburgh or Denver, it's somewhat excusable.
Okay, my other question is this. Do you think Tom Brady's New England Patriots can win the Super Bowl with Brandon Bolden as their primary back? Because that's what it's looking like right now.
I think Tom Brady and the New England Patriots can get to the Super Bowl under those conditions so long as Gronk is healthy enough to play and Edelman comes back. I don't think the running back position even matters if those other guys are healthy.
Boy, LeGarrette Blount has been so big in so many playoff games.
He has been big. There's no question. But I think I'm not saying they would, but I think they could get to the Super Bowl. But if you're going to go up against the Legion of Boom, or this Carolina squad that we're watching take shape before our very eyes, or to a lesser degree even Arizona, I think you need all your ducks in a row to beat a team out of the NFC. But to get to the Super Bowl, I think you need Gronk and Edelman and Amendola. Your passing attack needs to be in place because Bill Belichick would just decide to let Brady throw 55 times.
Not sure you can win that way.
I think Brady can win that way.
Well, thank you.
The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. The Houston Cougars are now 12-1 and have an offense that's among the most explosive in the nation. He's gone. Touchdown. They'll face a Florida State defense that ranks 5th in points allowed. Plus, Dalvin Cook, who ran for over 1,600 yards. Touchdown. Number 9, Florida State. Number 18, Houston. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, New Year's Eve on ESPN Radio.
Never gets old. This is what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's pretty much surprised, but yet, I've dreamed of this, ever since I came here. And, being that we're actually living in it, it doesn't surprise no one because we prepare for these type of accolades. We prepare for these type of winning streaks. We prepare for these type of performances. And when it actually comes to fruition, nobody's surprised.
The Panthers pitched a shutout, scoring 38 unanswered points over the division rival Falcons, improving their record to 13-0. So, Stephen A., are the Panthers a lock for Super Bowl 50?
First thing I want to say is this. No, they're not. But the first thing I want to say is I can't express enough how proud I am of Cam Newton. I'm not talking about just how he plays, but how he conducts himself as the franchise player for the Carolina Panthers. He's a leader in every sense of the word. What he does in terms of how he carries himself and how he goes about conducting himself as the leader of this franchise is commendable. And I wanted to take a moment to say that about him because it's incredibly impressive to watch. And for a lot of young kids out there to see what he's doing is special. I watched his interview with Scott Van Pelt a few weeks ago. It's just something special, and I think that he deserves it.
And what he does in the community.
That's
too.
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So when I look at him, it's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing to see. Having said all of that, they are not a lock. They are not a lock to win the NFC. Carolina is no joke. That defense is big time. Ted Ginn Jr., I got on him for being Mr. Drop Passes before the game. Mm-hmm. He showed up yesterday and balled out. And Skip, you're absolutely right. He's electrifying in terms of his speed, the separation that he creates for himself. I mean, you got receiving cornerbacks ain't within 5 yards of this brother. I mean, he's just blowing by them, leaving them in the dust. Mm-hmm. The better of a catcher Ted Ginn Jr. becomes, he will be an elite receiver in this game. He's that gifted in terms of his speed and his route running. He just has to catch passes more consistently. Having said all of that, Arizona is no joke. They've only lost 2 games, and Carson Palmer is a legit MVP candidate, and Larry Fitzgerald has been resurrected with Floyd, with their secondary, with the Honey Badger and Powers and Peterson and all of those boys. They cannot be ignored. But I'm comfortable with the Legion of Boom. Skip Bayless, my pick to go to the Super Bowl before this season even began. I'm comfortable where I'm sitting right now. The Legion of Boom is resurrecting himself, albeit Minnesota and then Baltimore yesterday. I understand. But when you look at the Legion of Boom and how they're getting after cats right now, that's impressive. But what really stands out, even though I don't like the fact that they lost Rawls because he broke his ankle, who was running, filling in for beast mode to the point where he looked like he was beast mode, okay? Has anybody noticed what Russell Wilson has been doing?
No, only you. You're the only one.
Russell Wilson, 4 consecutive games, a passer rating of 138.5.
Really? Wow.
Russell Wilson, 16 touchdowns and 0 interceptions over the last 4 games.
Wow.
Russell Wilson. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. When you look at what this brother has been doing, throwing 5 TDs in 2 of the last 3 games, the way that he has been balling, I just can't say enough. We know, and then the offensive line is getting a bit sturdier. They're protecting him a little bit better. He's still elusive. He's a playmaker. He's making things happen. Russell Wilson continues to play the way that he's been playing. I wouldn't mind seeing an NFC Championship game with Carolina versus Seattle in Charlotte, North Carolina. I might end up going to that game since I love Charlotte. I love me some Charlotte. Hey, listen, that's a second home practically. I went to school an hour away at Winston-Salem State. Here's the deal. I might have to be there for that one. That's going to be a beautiful game. But I can't. Listen, Carolina should be everybody's favorite the way they're looking right now. But I don't think anybody can just sit there and go like this. Seattle don't have a chance. Seattle can't beat these boys. Seattle, the way they're playing, can go anywhere against anybody and beat them. Right now, the way Russell Wilson is looking, I mean, he continues to look like that. And here's the beauty of it, Skip. What if beast mode comes back?
Well, is he?
And I don't know. What if he comes back? And he decides to be beast mode. His final season in Seattle before he probably goes to Oakland. How are you going to... beast mode. Because remember, he's boys with a lot of those cats inside that locker room, including Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor, part of the reason he ended his holdout, he told me that personally, was that beast mode is his boy. Yeah. And he promised them what they came here to do together. If beast mode get healthy, especially with Rawls playing the way that he played, beast mode can't come back and be a lesser version of Rawls. He's beast mode. He's got to show up. I kind of like this. I kind of like the way this story is unfolding in in Seattle, okay? So it's going to be very interesting. It is not a lock. Carolina's the favorite. They deserve that respect because I don't want Charles Johnson to beat me up by me denying that they're the favorite. They told me what they were going to do. By the way, Charles Johnson was here a few weeks ago, NFL Countdown, and he told me exactly what they were going to do to Atlanta, and they did it yesterday. Just stomped them, okay?
Yeah, he said it was going to be 38-0?
He didn't even score, but he was like, we're going to beat them down.
Okay.
He said, you don't understand. Don't worry about Julio Jones because we got Josh Norman. Don't even worry about Julio Jones. He said that. He schooled me. You know, he got me good. He said, watch. Don't even. He said,
I don't think anybody worries about Atlanta right now.
No, it's awful.
Jones.
It's just, I don't know what the hell.
It's just awful.
I don't know what. I can't believe what has happened to
They
Atlanta.
turned in like the worst team in the league.
And you talk about
They started off so
Quinn was
strong.
like a golden boy when he first started, and now you just another coach. How do y'all look this bad?
I feel like he's on the hot seat.
He should be.
I don't know.
I mean, he ain't no different than Mike Smith. I mean, it's just that bad. So in the end, beast mode. Hopefully he comes back. Russell Wilson playing the way that he's been playing with the Legion of Boom. Carolina should be the favorite. But I would caution everybody. Watch out for Seattle. Look, they're coming.
Okay, so you have wavered on your preseason Super Bowl pick through the year on Seattle. You said, I don't know.
I said, I don't know. And I still don't, because look at the way Carolina's looking. But I never jumped off the ball. I jumped off with Indianapolis immediately.
Well, you should have jumped completely off yesterday when they gave up, what was it, 51 to Jacksonville?
I've been off for weeks. Pagano might not have a job, man. Seriously.
That might have been
it. That might have been it. That might have been it for Pagano.
I would
Seriously.
Agree. Are you sure you can go win at Charlotte without beast mode or anybody?
No.
Okay, what if he's got a sports hernia? I don't know what it is.
You don't want beast mode and Rawls going.
That's what I'm saying.
So now that Rawls is out, beast mode got to come back. I don't think you could beat Carolina without beast mode.
With Fred Jackson? You got Fred Jackson left.
Well, all right. You got to have something. Somebody got to run it. Somebody got to be D'Angelo Williams for the Seahawks.
Okay, back to your first point.
All right.
Ted Ginn has become the baddest man at receiver in the National Football League. And I realize he occasionally has the dropsies. But nobody, including Deshaun Jackson, can run past defenders the way Ted Ginn Jr. can run past. He is now requiring double focused from two defenders on nearly every play that he lines up wide.
He's electrifying.
Because he is so fast. He's the fastest man in the National Football League, and he has a quarterback who has one of, if not the biggest arm in pro football, and who throws a sweet deep ball. So all of a sudden, the threat of bombs away to Ted Ginn, he caught two balls yesterday, and, it was for like 1,000 yards, because it's like every ball he catches is going to be a big catch for a huge gain. So again, he has had his drop problems, but when he doesn't, he changes the way they play football because it opens the whole defense up, because you have to account for that little man who can run by two people, okay? And Cam, has anybody, you said, has anybody noticed about Russell Wilson? Have you noticed what Cam Newton has done in his last 4 games? I mean, seriously, he played a lot of mediocre games early in the year, and these last 4, he's thrown 13 touchdown passes to only 1 interception. 1 interception? Really? 13-1. Russell Wilson the last 4, 16-0. But Cam's right in there neck and neck with him. And to me, this team is so hot and so extremely confident, and it starts with Cam and it ends with the head coach, that it's hard for me to believe that your Seahawks, as it is right now, could go on the road to, let's say, it looks like today it would be at Green Bay. So they'd have to go on the road 3 times. They'd have to go win at Green Bay, at Arizona, at Cam. Do you think they could pull off that trifecta? Because I don't think they could. It's a little too late. And I know Russell Wilson, he's making throws from the pocket at about 5, barely 11, that I didn't think he could make. He's beating people from the pocket to Doug Baldwin. They look like he's playing like he's 6 feet 5 inches tall. That's how he's throwing from the pocket. But can they go win at the bad man and then at Carson Palmer and at Cam Newton? That's such a tall order, given the fact that they've had their internal dissension and their problems that you've talked about, the issues with the head coach, the trustability with the head coach.
They should have it. I think that listen, I have faith that they'll rally together, they band together, they understand what's on the line. They're grown men, and they understand that the ultimate goal is to win. The ultimate goal ain't to whine and moan about what transpired, knowing that you can't change that. That's just what men realize and what conclusion men and professionals come to. I want to take a moment. I got to give Ginn credit. Skip, he's only got 37 receptions on the season.
But look at the yards.
645 yards, 17.4 yards a catch. I'm willing to sit there and say if Kelvin Benjamin comes back healthy next year and Ted Ginn becomes a reliable pass catcher, because we know he has everything else. I mean, they can win it all. They can win the chip, even though some would say they could win it now. I will say this to you. Again, Carolina deserves to be the favorite. And if I had to bet my money at this moment, it would still be Carolina. But you asked a question about who's the biggest threat. And I'm saying to you it's Seattle.
Okay.
And I'm telling you this. Carolina plays a lot of close games. Their defense keeps you in it. They move the chains. Cam steps up and makes big plays. All of that is true. But the flip side to it is that, you got to look at the fact that it's going to come down to pressurized moments. And when I think about Carolina and I think about Seattle, you know what? What can Cam do that Russell Wilson can't do? See,
vice versa.
Exactly. I'm just saying, we have to ask ourselves that question. Because when we look at, we rave about Cam so much, and he's my league MVP, but the flip side to it is that Russell Wilson could do what he does. Russell Wilson could do it, man. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens. And they are better. And the offense does look better without Jimmy Graham. And guess why? Because they maybe got a tight end that don't mind blocking. And he's been better protected. And that has something to do with it.
I would agree with that. And I remind everyone, Cam won at Seattle earlier this year.
Yep.
When he didn't play very well until the end, he was great in the fourth quarter, but finally, remember, Seattle completely busted a late coverage. Remember that? And they let Greg Olsen run right up the seam, unguarded.
That's right.
For an easy touchdown that won the game. Right?
Yeah. And in that particular game, Jimmy Graham had 8 receptions for 140 yards. He wouldn't be there now. But again, I think Seattle has more cohesiveness and continuity with their offense without him than they did with him.
Yes, the huge question is going to be the running game for them and their health. So you just heard the G-Men play tonight. Here's a recap of what went down in the rest of the division. The Cowboys lose to the Packers. The Eagles and Redskins both get a win, beating the Bills and Redskins respectively. So here is how the NFC East stands right now. Washington and Philly are tied for first at 6 and 7, followed by the Giants, then the Cowboys. Eric Allen, deja vu.
Yes.
Right? Who is now in control of the NFC East this week?
Well, this week. Just like last week for me, I'm going to still stay with the Redskins. Got a big win on the road, which is important. Yeah, got a big win on the road, which is important. Jordan Reed, one of the better tight ends in the National Football League, particularly the NFC. And then they have Deshaun Jackson, and they've been able to, with Deshaun Jackson, spread the field out a little bit. Being able to capitalize with another player in the red zone, which is crucial. They win time possession for the most part. I love their back end play. I think they have tremendous availability of nickels and dimes, and this is a passing league, so you need to be solid on the back end. They continue to throw different guys out at corner, at nickel, and have success. I think one thing that's been overlooked defensively is Hall's move to safety. I mean, he's done an outstanding job. Usually when a corner goes to safety, you worry about the run support, but you see him sticking his nose in the mess and making sure guys are lined up correctly. So you don't fear that big, miss on the back end in crucial times, which is extremely important when you're talking about a division that is relatively weak, a division that, you have to have 2 or 3 things that you need to come to the ballpark with every single week, and it needs to be dependable. And again, I think Deshaun Jackson is going to be a guy later in the next couple weeks who's really going to help Jordan, help Cousins become a threat downfield. And then the other teams, the Giants, they have a Super Bowl winning coach and a quarterback, but they don't really have the rush that we know the Giants need to be a Super Bowl contender to protect that back end. They're last in almost every category on defense. Don't really have a running game. Haven't developed a number 2 receiver outside of Odell Beckham. Only have 15 sacks going into Monday night's game. That's not Giant Super Bowl type of run. And then the Philadelphia Eagles. They're becoming a better football team. But you know what? Each of their wins, they've lost time possession. They lost yardage. They really haven't developed any receiver that you really are threatened by. The running game that's what they do, but they don't win time possession. And you're a running team. You got to win time possession. So a lot of question marks about all those football teams, and we're not even talking about Dallas. So for me, again, the Redskins are the team to beat. I think going to win the NFC East.
I have no idea whether you're right or not. The only thing that I have an idea are two things. Number one, the Redskins to me have the easiest road to the division crown.
Yep.
And number two, I am happy to say that the Dallas Cowboys are completely and utterly irrelevant in this conversation. It's a beautiful thing.
I haven't spoken yet.
Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. You have no objectivity. It's over. Okay.
Over.
Now let's say this: having Buffalo, Philadelphia, Dallas, I just look at the Redskins as being in a position where they should win this division. The fact that Philadelphia has Arizona on its schedule vexes me. The fact that the Giants have the Carolina Panthers and a road game at Minnesota vexes me. The combination of those two things working against the Giants combined with that Arizona game working against Philadelphia, which I believe they will lose this weekend. I think those two things have me saying that it's the Redskins. I hate saying that because I don't believe in Kirk Cousins. I don't believe him. I believe that the Redskins overall are allergic to prosperity. I don't trust them. And I think that anytime you put them in an elevated position where hope is replaced and usurped by expectations, they let you down. That's what they do. And I think that that's what the problem is. That's the only concern that I have about the Redskins, that they let you down. I knew that they were going to win yesterday's game against Chicago, but it wasn't just because of Jay Cutler. It was because it was Chicago, who's an average team this year. The Redskins are an average team. Very little was expected of them. Exactly the type of game they'll win, even though they had lost like 9 straight on the road. On the road. This is what they do. No expectations, flying under the radar. We don't really care about that game. We got New England on against Texans at night. We got the Steelers, and then who cares? All right, Redskins will win that kind of game. But then the spotlight shines on them. All right, let's see what the Redskins do. And they are nowhere to be found.
Monday Night Football?
That's right.
Yeah.
They're nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found. You look at them and you're like, oh my goodness, we expect this from them, and they disappoint us. So that's where I'm at with them. But I will say this again, I don't know at all. But I look at them and I say the easiest road to the NFC East crown appears to be in their stable, more so than the Giants and the Eagles. My last point, I will reiterate. The Dallas Cowboys are irrelevant in this conversation.
said bye to them at the top of the
They
show.
are worthless. They are gone. Totally irrelevant. No reason to even talk about them.
No Super Bowl.
No Super Bowl division crown. No anything. They'll be home watching. I assume that Des Bryant with his new contract, even though I love my man Des, but Tony Romo and them, I assume that their TV screens are bigger and better than mine. I hope they enjoy watching the playoffs like I will be doing, because they damn sure won't be playing in it. That's all I wanted to say.
There you go.
Yes.
Have you guys been seeing these commercials for the new movie that's, I believe it opens on Christmas Day, starring Leo DiCaprio? It's called The Revenant.
Yeah,
You know this one?
that's kind of
The
scary to
Western?
me.
Wow.
Kind of
And-
scary.
and,
He
you know,
got
he-
buried alive.
Yeah, and you know what a revenant is, don't you? A revenant is somebody who gets buried alive or is nearly dead and who comes back from the near dead.
Coming back.
So I'm wondering if that's not an omen
Coming back.
for my Dallas. Could my Cowboys be the Dallas Revenants?
It's a stretch.
You know,
Stretch.
I don't know. I've been thinking about it because, by the way, Leo could win the Academy Award for this
First of all,
performance.
Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the most sensational actors we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And who on the Dallas Cowboys is like Leo?
Well, nobody. They're all actors. I mean, they're all actors in their own way. They're just not as good.
I'm going to remind everybody on this panel, the ex-Eagle and the pseudo-Giant fan over there, and the hardcore Giant fan here who is shaking in
love
her
my Steelers.
boots today because she knows what might be coming tonight, starting tonight at Miami. But we're back to the operative word of this question, which is who's in control of the East, and the obvious answer is Nobody is in control of the East. I don't like any of these teams. They're all flawed. They all could lose out, except in the end, a couple of them play each other, so somebody's going to have to win that game. But it is still highly possible that the winner of this division would finish 7-9. It is still remotely possible that somehow, someway, my Dallas Cowboys, who've lost 7 down-to-the-wire games that they had a chance to win 7 times, would suddenly see the light and beat the Jets on Saturday night at Jerry World, and then who knows, maybe go to Buffalo. Bills are starting to reel. Maybe they've started to quit on Rex Ryan.
Right.
Who knows what could happen there? And then come home and beat the Redskins the final week. And guess what? That would make the Dallas Cowboys, wait a second, if I got my math right, that would make them 4-2 in the division. They would be 4-2. They would have easily the best division record. So if somehow, some way, they tied with the 7-9 team, they would run away with the tiebreaker here.
Who are they going to win with?
Huh?
Personnel-wise, I mean,
I don't know.
Is Romo coming back?
But you say that. My defense is still the best defense in the division. They played the heck out of Aaron Rodgers yesterday. Until finally they just crumbled because they were on the field 2 times. You see the time of possession? It was 38 minutes to 22 minutes. Because Matt Castle could not convert on 3rd down, thanks in large part to Dez Bryant. What's wrong with you, Dez? What happened yesterday?
Yeah, one catch.
May I ask you a question?
Just catch
one catch. They don't have, Eric, personnel-wise, they're just not there.
Eric.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
I got to ask you. I have a question.
Yeah, you got it.
It's just a question.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless, the thing that really amazes me about you is this. You're negating the fact that they play each other.
Well,
like, for
not
example,
much. Not very much.
The Eagles, okay, they have the Redskins and the Giants on their schedule. The Giants have the Eagles on their schedule.
Okay,
the Redskins.
I did it last night. There's ways that it would come out where if Dallas wins its last 3,
but that's why I was
they could
asking.
tie with Philly at 7-9.
But that's why I was asking you.
Okay.
Because of
it's
how
not mathematically impossible.
I'm asking a question.
Okay.
Because of how ridiculous you sound, I would like you to go into detail and break down for our audience
I already did
how the Dallas Cowboys can end up.
He did every
winning
scenario.
their next
Confident.
Okay, now remember.
Please do break it down because I want you to highlight.
I told you they have to win the last 3.
Go ahead.
But then if the Eagles lose 2 out of their 3, okay?
So the Eagles lose 2 out of their 3.
They beat Washington. So they would finish 7-9.
So the Eagles have to lose 2 out of their 3.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Then I got Washington just cratering, losing out. They would lose all 3.
So they would just lose all 3. So the Eagles have to lose 2 or 3. I just want to. The Eagles have to lose 2 or 3.
Buffalo at Philly at Dallas. Highly losable. Highly. You just ripped Kirk Cousins.
You're right. No, I need to understand.
Okay.
The Eagles need to lose 2 out of 3, and the Washington Redskins need to lose all 3.
Yes.
Right.
No, they don't need to. That would make them 6-10. But I got them losing all 3 to make it work, to make the schedule.
Oh, to make it work. Okay.
No, well, I have to because I'm giving the Eagles the win over the.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to understand.
I get it. I'm doing it for you.
Keep going.
I'm doing it for you. Then the Giants. What if the Giants lose tonight? I don't even need them to lose tonight because I've got them losing their last 3 because they got Carolina at Minnesota and Philly. Okay.
Got it.
I got them losing all 3.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
So
or all 4. If they lose all 4, they'll be 6-10.
So you got the Giants losing 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You got the Redskins losing 3 straight.
I told
and you got the Eagles losing 2 or 3 in order for the Cowboys to get. I just want to know. That's it. I just needed that. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. So Eric and Molly.
You've been buried alive. See, you have buried Leo alive here.
That's right. That's right.
And my Cowboys are Leo.
Y'all ain't Leo. Leo's one of the greatest. Y'all ain't Leo. But let me tell Molly, Eric.
Leo's understudy?
Listen,
wait a second.
The Redskins losing all 3. The Eagles losing 2 or 3, and the Giants losing 3 or 4. That's how Skip's got the Cowboys going to the playoffs. I just need to know. I just needed to know.
Well, why is that so shocking to you?
Because it won't happen. Because what you're missing out on is that the Cowboys going to win all 3, though, right?
Yeah.
Cowboys going to win all 3.
I know it's
that was the last piece.
1-8 without Romo, but they going to close the season winning 3 straight while everybody around them lose. That's how Skip got to go to the postseason.
So to finish up on the upcoming Leo movie, to finish up, see, he gets mauled by a grizzly bear.
Yeah,
and then they just say, he's done. We can't take him with us.
That's right. And
So
they
they
wanna
bury
kill
him, but
him.
he's still alive.
They should've killed him.
Okay, so my Cowboys have been mauled by the grizzly bear for game after game after game, and you three have buried them alive because they are still alive.
No.
Are they not still alive?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Grizzly and
Not to
the
me.
Cowboys.
You know what, Skip? I have to commend you for how loyal you are.
Molly,
I get this.
Molly, Eric, Skip is of the mindset that the Dallas Cowboys have been mauled. I'm of the mindset
Buried
they've
alive.
been eaten alive. They're dead.
Yeah.
They don't even need a funeral.
Yeah.
It's
No
over.
resurrection.
I mean, please. It's just a waste of time. You and Cowboy Nation, y'all are so, put the camera on me. The Cowboys are so pathetic. The fan base, y'all are horrible. Y'all are the worst fan base in America. You never live in reality. You're always sitting around talking about, oh my God, they're going to be all right. We're going to find a way. The Cowboys, the fan base. Listen, I am not a Cowboy hater. I hate the fans.
Me neither.
The fans of the Cowboys, they're the worst.
Yeah.
They never live. They're all delusional. All of them, just like Skip. And that, I ain't even knocking for it. I ain't even knocking. Because you truly epitomize the Cowboy fan base. They are exactly like that. That's how most of them are thinking. That's how most of them are thinking. Everybody else gonna lose, and we gonna win.
Control
That's horrible.
the NFC East.
Please. Ridiculous.
All right. Johnny Manziel led the Browns to the team's first win in over 2 months, and that wasn't the only headline he made. Before the game, he signed Money Manziel on a $100 bill for a fan, and during the game, he was seen hitting himself in the head with a tablet after throwing an interception, obviously frustrated. But all in all, Manziel was 21 of 31 for 270 yards, a TD, and an interception in the Browns' 24-10 win over the 49ers. Skip, what's your reaction to Johnny's day?
Molly, Stephen A., I didn't get to watch a great amount of this game because I was pretty distracted by 3 others that were going on at the same time. But every time I glanced at the screen, I saw Johnny Manziel look like the kid I believe can still be a star in the National Football League. That started looking like collegiate Johnny Manziel. That started, dare I say it, it started to look like Johnny football. The arm strength is above average. The accuracy is way above average. He's starting to get control of his emotions and his poise in the pocket. He's making smart decisions. He made one really, really dumb decision when he had driven them all the way from their 20 to San Francisco's 44 late in the first half. They were up 10-3, and he tried his roll left, scramble left, throw across his body all the way across the field, into the middle of the field, intercepted, obviously. He went to the sideline, as we know, and started beating himself on the head with the tablet. There's some showmanship involved. He knows the camera is constantly on him on the sideline, but he wanted to show everybody that was dumb. And the best way he knew to show the fans that was dumb was to hit himself over the head with the tablet, because it was dumb. Did I love him before the game, signing the $100 bill, Money Manziel? You know what? I told you before. My biggest issue with Johnny going to rehab, other than just getting himself fixed, was you have to be careful going through the 12-step program in rehab because you can't lose who you are. Sometimes people have to lose completely who they are to get control of themselves off the field with their problem. And I want Johnny to still be Johnny and to control his issues. I'm not sure he's in control of his issues off the field. We talked about that. But I still want him to be Johnny on the field. So when he signs Money Manziel, he's showing you that's who he is. That's his persona. That's his mystique that he created at Texas A&M so wildly successfully. Some of that needs to operate in pro football in smaller doses, to where he's starting to get a grip on how to play the pro game of quarterback. And once he does that, I'm good with it. Sometimes I wonder, and you brought this up, is all this calculated, signing the $100 bill, Money Manziel? Is it calculated to alienate the Browns management, who clearly are not in his corner to begin with, to get himself out of Cleveland? I'm good with that if that's what he's trying to do. But what I saw yesterday is a guy that if the Browns have half a brain, they would keep him. But I hope they don't, and they haven't displayed half a brain for a long, long time.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I thought he played well yesterday. I was impressed with what I saw, aside from the brain lock interception that he was throwing across the field. I have to pump my brakes just a little bit because I have to take into consideration who he was playing against. He was playing against the San Francisco 49ers defense that's ranked 19th overall, but 30th in yards allowed, 27th against the rush, 30th against the pass.
They've had their moments.
They've had their moments, but overall, there's little to nothing impressive about them. And so I got to look at it from that perspective.
Okay, but baby steps. Is that fair? I mean, he's just trying to figure it out.
Well, I would say that to you, and he deserves a lot of credit. And it does. I do find myself looking at Coach Mike Pettin and saying to myself, "What are you thinking? Play this kid. Find out what he's worth to decide where you're going. You owe it to your team." Now, clearly, you can't have the player lying to you. You can't have the player getting in trouble off the field and embarrassing the organization. We understand that. But the flip side to all of this is that just let him play and see how he acts then. Because it's one thing to sit there and lament the state of affairs involving Johnny Manziel if he gets in trouble off the field. It's another thing entirely when we're talking about him signing a dollar bill or whatever.
$100.
Yeah. Well, hell, I have, and I don't do money signs. But people have come up to me and asked me to sign, sign their T-shirt, sign a money bill, and I can't, even though I
get hundreds.
Yeah, I've had that in the past. I've had that in the past, and
you're a high roller.
And I just
get ones.
I actually hate signing autographs because I'd rather take pictures and stuff like that. But I never turn down kids, and I never turn down, the elderly. Those are the two. I never do that.
Because you have a good heart.
I do have a good heart.
I'm being serious.
I do have a good heart.
Yeah,
I don't tell nobody, but I do. But the point is that in the end, you look at Johnny Manziel, and when we're debating that kind of issue, it gets to a point where it's like, damn, can we leave the kid alone? Now, we don't leave him alone if he gets in trouble off the field. But when we have to monitor him and every minute detail, I'm not talking about us, but I'm just talking about looking at Mike Pettin and them monitoring how he acts and it being a turnoff for them. They need to get over that. Adapt to modern time. Johnny Manziel, this ain't the 70s or 80s or even the 90s. This is a different millennial. This is a different age. And Johnny Manziel,
I agree,
22-year-old guy, that he's different. And that's just the way that it is. As long as he's coming to work every day, putting in the work, working hard, that is what he should be judged by. And clearly he gives them the best chance to win, in my estimation. He's clearly somebody that his teammates want to play with, and everybody and their grandmother wants to see what he has. So let's find out what he has.
Okay, next up, going up to Seattle, we'll
find out then.
Brutal.
We'll find out then. That's what I said.
And by the way, he lost another fairly reliable receiver. Brian Hartline fractured his collarbones, and he'd caught 8 balls already.
Listen.
So, man, he was out without Taylor Gabriel and Andrew Hawkins. They just don't have very much.
I don't care what Johnny Manziel does. We have to find out. He's got at Seattle, at Kansas City, the way they've been playing, and a home game against Pittsburgh to close out the season.
Here we go.
I mean, you want to find out what Johnny Manziel is made of.
Okay.
All 3 teams are vying for playoff spots. These are important games to them, which means they're going to bring the house at him. We're going to find out what he's made of. Lee, I don't care what he does over these next 3 games. Let him play so we can find out what he's made of.
Could be the Legion of Kaboom for Johnny, right?
Maybe. Or maybe he might show up and shock the world.
I hope so.
Even though I know, if he does anything right, it would shock Merrill Hodge, who's not a fan.
Hey, college football fans, I'm Ivan Manziel. On the latest Championship Drive podcast, we break down the Heisman and Navy beating Army once again. You can find it on the Listen tab on the ESPN app.
When people want to make up false stories about people calling someone during the week and him hanging up on me, I just think, people trying to get Twitter hits or things like that and make themselves significant when it doesn't happen. No, I never called McCoy this week. But I think it was the Inquirer. Is that you? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Chip getting all feisty. That was Chip Kelly refuting the Philadelphia Inquirer report that LeSean McCoy hung up on Chip when he tried to call him this week, saying he never called McCoy. The Inquirer standing by their story, citing 2 sources familiar with this telephone call. Stephen A., what's your reaction to Chip's response?
Well, it's a difficult position for me to be in simply because, Molly, I used to work for the Philadelphia Inquirer for 17 years. I know the sports editor, I know the deputy sports editor, one of the great columnists that doesn't get nearly enough recognition. And Bob Ford is a friend of mine. He's still there. Bill Lyon, the former lead columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, was Poetry in Motion.
Great writer.
One of the greatest writers in American history. there are a lot of people there who are still my friends to this very day. I have profound respect for them and their integrity. I don't know what writer Chip Kelly was talking about. I will say this. It was a bad moment because Chip Kelly took the liberty of calling out that particular reporter. And it was incredibly condescending because he was like, it was a Inquirer report. Was that you? Like, you don't know who the beat writer is covering your team. It shows either that he's incredibly detached as the head coach or he has no respect for that particular reporter. If you're a reporter and you're getting meticulous about, well, who called who, like it's one thing when you say, well, they didn't want to talk to each other or whatever the case may be. But when you get literal, like he picked up the phone and called, and he's categorically denying it to your face, unsolicited, I might add. And there's nothing from LeSean McCoy to refute that, where LeSean McCoy is confirming he called and I hung up on him. Then you look bad. And in the case of Chip Kelly, you have to remember that Chip Kelly is a guy that he knows what LeSean McCoy has said about him. He knows how LeSean McCoy feels about him. So it would have been very, very easy for LeSean McCoy to deny what Chip Kelly had said, because Chip Kelly wasn't aware that he wasn't talking to the media or anything like that. He's too busy with his own press conference. If you cover a football game, and I've covered many at Philadelphia, at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, LeSean McCoy is supposed to be available somewhere around the same time that Chip Kelly's available. So Chip Kelly would have no idea that LeSean McCoy is right down the hallway denying anything like that or confirming anything like that. And he still emphatically and categorically denied what he said. So in that regard, I just think that at the end of the day, having won the football game and then coming across the way that he came across, Chip Kelly actually came across yesterday as the bigger man in many respects, not just towards LeSean McCoy, but even towards the media itself. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and impugn the integrity of the newspaper or anybody in the Philadelphia media, because a lot of those folks are my friends. I consider them incredibly gifted at what they do. They know what they're talking about. They're incredibly connected. And they're usually far more right than they are wrong. But for the purposes specifically of what transpired yesterday, Chip Kelly came away from there being victorious, but also looking incredibly more honest and forthcoming than LeSean McCoy or anybody else on that particular afternoon.
Okay, I got it. Point of order. Even in this ever-changing newspaper world that we live in, this media world, I still consider the Philadelphia Inquirer a highly reputable news agency. Is that fair?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The Philly Inquirer stood behind its story. So this is very intriguing to me, because one of two things is right here. Either Chip Kelly is flat out not telling the truth about what did happen, or the Inquirer got this completely, utterly wrong. Is that fair? Because that's where we've come down to.
Yeah, that's what we've come down to, and we don't know the answer. Here's what I will tell you about the Philadelphia Inquirer. If they are wrong, somebody lied to the reporter. I can assure you the reporter didn't make it up.
Okay, they said in the story that they had two sources.
That's what I'm saying. Someone lied on Chip Kelly if Chip Kelly's telling the truth. Because where I will stand up and vouch for the Philadelphia Inquirer as somebody who worked there for 17 years, I will tell you right now, ain't no way in hell you are a reporter and you just decide to write something and it doesn't get confirmed by your sports editor, your deputy sports editor, and others. They're not having that. Now, again, you can get lied on. You can get lied to, rather, as a reporter. And we're only as good as our sources. But I assure you that the sports editor was informed, not only of what the story was,
fair enough,
but who told the reporter that story.
Okay, they even had the detail that LeSean answered, even though it was an unidentified caller, and that when he heard that it was Chip, he immediately hung up. So they had the details of that story. The only reason I give the story more credibility Is this fair to say that Chip was offering a lot of olive branches through the week? Am I right about that? Didn't he volunteer that he mishandled LeSean's exit?
Yep.
Handled it badly, handled it wrong, however you said it, right? I'm paraphrasing slightly. But wouldn't that lead you to believe that it was possible that Chip made that phone call? In that climate of last week,
he was trying to clear
he was trying to undercut. He was trying to maybe defuse LeSean's anger as he came to Lincoln Financial, right? So he's trying to offer lots of olive branches. Oh, we did mishandle that. So in that context, wouldn't it be possible to you, more possible, that Chip picked up the phone and said, I'm just going to call the guy and say, we messed this up during that week? It's possible. I'm not saying it happened, but that's why I gave more credibility to this story under these circumstances.
Of course it's possible. It's just that Chip Kelly, unsolicited, feeling the need to address that specific nugget, that I picked up the phone, called LeSean McCoy, and LeSean McCoy hung up on me. Those details. Now, that doesn't mean that Chip Kelly didn't try to reach out. That doesn't mean that Chip Kelly didn't try to extend an olive branch. That does not mean that Chip Kelly didn't have somebody else try to reach out to LeSean McCoy. He was specifically addressing that he was on the phone. He said, this is Chip Kelly, and LeSean McCoy realized it was him and got hung up on. These coaches and folks in this day and age, if you don't have it locked down specifically, they will find a hole in your argument and exploit it. So that's definitely possible here with Chip Kelly. But he did come across as honest with that particular nugget of the story.
All right. I don't know what happened. I
Neither
have
do
no
I.
idea.
Neither do I, and I didn't ask.
It is still difficult for me to dismiss the Philadelphia Inquirer story. Just completely dismiss it.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Tomorrow's going to be fun. Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are stopping by the desk. We'll ask them about their new comedy, Daddy's Home, and talk a little football. So don't miss that tomorrow right here on First Take. Elsewhere, the Broncos entered Week 14 in control of their destiny for best record in the AFC and are now left one game behind the Patriots after losing to the Raiders 15-12. Brock Osweiler was 35 of 51 for 308 yards, but failed to lead the Broncos on any touchdown drives and was sacked 5 times by Khalil Mack, including one in the end zone for a safety. Skip, how far can Osweiler lead this Broncos team?
Not very. Stephen A. Smith, if I am John Elway, and Peyton Manning shows me this week that he is barely adequately mobile again on his plantar fascia injury, I'm going with Peyton Manning this next Sunday at Pittsburgh. I'm going with Peyton Manning when they go back to play the Bengals at home and then stay home to finish with the Chargers. I just don't believe in Brock Osweiler. My gut feeling is that John Elway has already cut bait with Peyton Manning. That's just from a distance. That's my 2 cents, and I told you that before. But if they want to go any distance in the playoffs, if they even want a decent seed in the playoffs, he needs to go back to Peyton right here, right now, because Osweiler yesterday completed 22 passes in the first half. A lot of dinks and dunks, and they scored 12 points, and they were ahead 12-0 at halftime. In the second half, Brock Osweiler, and again, he's just a kid, first year starting. His QBR in the second half was a total of 6 on a scale of 0 to 100. And, of course, you know the end of that story. They lost 15-12. He's played very well under the circumstances. He's won 3 games. He beat the Patriots on a Sunday night at home. I think he can't go much. He's not going to be able to take this team, even with maybe the best defense in pro football. I don't think he can take it much farther. So that would be my suggestion, but I don't think John Elway will listen to me.
I agree with you there, and I also agree with you that Peyton Manning would be my guy, but I don't agree with you that I would bring him back this week. Age, attrition, all of those things factor into the equation, and I think in this particular situation on the road in Pittsburgh, having to travel to Pittsburgh for that game, I don't think that's necessary. Let Peyton Manning stay home. Let him rest and continue to rehabilitate. Give him an additional week, in this particular case, an additional 13 days before he's out there on the field again going against the Cincinnati Bengals at home in a Mile High City before closing out the season against the San Diego Chargers. I don't think you need to rush him back. I just think that it's obvious to me that Peyton Manning should be that guy. To me, the only way that Brock Osweiler should have been the quarterback for the Denver Broncos going into the postseason is if he were a la Dan Marino when Dan Marino was inserted into the starting lineup of the Miami Dolphins back in 1984-85, you know, where he just played lights out. And in his second season, he took them all the way to the Super Bowl against Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers when he blitzed the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mark Malone and those boys in the AFC Championship game. Outside of that, I don't think you do that. I think you leave it alone. I think that, you stay with what works. Peyton Manning is a superstar during the regular season. Peyton Manning is a first ballot future Hall of Famer. Peyton Manning is the one with 71,000 passing yards. Peyton Manning is the Super Bowl champion. Peyton Manning is cerebral beyond comprehension when it comes to playing a quarterback position in the National Football League. Brock Osweiler, to me, is a good young quarterback that has promise, and there's absolutely positively nothing wrong with declaring he is the heir apparent moving forward. But with this defense being the number one defense in yards allowed, number one in points allowed, number one against the pass, number 3 against the rush, you don't sit there and waste this kind of spectacular effort this defense, for the most part, has put forward throughout this season just so Brock Osweiler can be your new quarterback, ordained your new quarterback. Peyton Manning has been absolutely sensational in the regular season for most of his illustrious career. He has earned the right, unless Brock Osweiler is the second coming of Dan Marino, he has earned the right to be reinserted and put in as your starting quarterback, because your veterans will sit there and say, okay, we got Peyton Manning. And if he doesn't get it done, then you yank him. If clearly the velocity in his arm is not there, you yank him. But you have to give him a chance to go in there with a Super Bowl championship on the line. You have to give him
I remind you, Peyton did participate in drills last week, not in practice, but in drills. So he's coming along.
Well, again, you have the right to see how he's looking in drills. He doesn't necessarily have to, you don't have to see you see nothing during the drills. You see nothing during practice.
Are you sure?
Because he's Peyton Manning, we'll put him in there. Okay. He's got to pass the drills, but if he does that, put him in.
Are you sure you don't want him to wait another week so that your Steelers can stay on a roll at home?
No, I swear to you, it's really about that attrition. Just listen, you want to rest him as much as possible to have him as ready as he can possibly be. Cincinnati and San Diego to close out the regular season is more than enough time for Peyton Manning to get a rhythm back, assuming the velocity
Cincinnati without their quarterback.
Without question.
It's going to be another late one. Monday Night Football tonight, Dolphins at Giants. Now, the Giants need a win in order to keep pace with the Eagles and Redskins in the NFC East. That one, of course, on ESPN at 8:15 Eastern. Stephen A., who wins this matchup?
I'm going to go with the Giants. I don't have much faith in the Miami Dolphins. I know that they could win a game like this. They did go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles, but the reality of the situation is that Ryan Tannehill and those boys in Miami have underachieved. And as a result, that combined with the urgency of the moment for the Giants and Eli Manning, I think him, with Odell Beckham, with Ruben Randle wanting more touches, etc., I think they answer the call. They win 31-27.
31-27. You know, I love Ryan Tannehill, so I love the Dolphins tonight. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I almost want to leave over that one.
That lie you just told to the American people.
This is the Dolphins' night. This is Ryan Tannehill's night to rise and shine. Your Giants have lost 4 out of 5 games. They're a mere 1-point favorite tonight. They will lose.
And the Cowboys have nothing to do with your pick just now, right?
No.
Nothing whatsoever.
As we say goodbye to all you, let's say bye to the Cowboys, too.
Goodbye.
Appreciate you listening to the podcast. Catch First Take, as always, weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, and we re-air at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.
Houston has an offense that's among the most explosive in the nation. Florida State's defense ranks 5th in points allowed. They go head-to-head in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, 11:30 Eastern New Year's Eve on ESPN Radio.